Tony Gwynn, Marshall Faulk, the head coach at San Diego State of the basketball program, Steve Fisher. I mean, who would turn these guests down any day of the week as we go out to the Western Exterminator hotline and say hello for the second time in a week? We haven't talked to Coach Fisher in like 4 months, and now we have him on 2 times in a week. Coach, good to talk to you.
My pleasure. Yeah, I'm honored to be on back-to-back on the same week.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we're making up for lost time. I certainly do appreciate that as well. Are you going to come down and watch Strasburg pitch tonight?
I'm going to probably not.
Okay.
I've been invited, so I still might come, but I don't think I will.
Okay. Did you go?
But I will either listen or find it on TV, one of the two.
Well, I don't know. Last time we talked to you about the Padres on television, you were in a Time Warner cable zone, so I don't think you got them.
Yeah, I might have to leave the house if I will go watch it on TV. I guess I'll have to get Ted on the mighty 1090.
Oh, man, you are such a pro. We love that about Steve Fisher. Well, good. I hope you enjoy the game tonight with Uncle Teddy. It's been a great week for you guys. I'll tell you, not only, all kidding aside about us and the partnership between the radio station and San Diego State Athletics, but I'm glad that we have a chance now to talk a little bit about the basketball program itself, because you guys have made a couple of additions this week. Can you tell us about the two? Let's start in reverse chronological order with Josh Davis. Tell us a little bit about him.
We had Josh in for an official visit. In fact, Darren, he was visiting when I came out to the show. He visited Monday, Tuesday, committed to us Tuesday morning, signed his scholarship papers before he left, and we are very excited to be adding him. He's a fifth-year senior, will be 1 year eligible immediately. This is what Garrett Green was for us 2 years ago. And he's a very, very good player who will come in and give us immediate help. Our fans will really love him.
What's the difference, Coach, between recruiting out of high school and recruiting for players who are looking to transfer?
I think the transfers, most of them, now sometimes you get an identical feel. They want to make 5 visits. They want to hear all the same things. But most of them are like Josh was. He narrowed it down via the telephone, had a handful of people come in to meet with him, and we were his only official visit. So I think when you've been around the block, you have a better idea of knowing exactly what you want and who can provide that for you.
How does a player like that land on your radar screen? We were just jotting down some of the names here, the different transfers that we've seen, whether it's been, Carswell or Wade or Poli more recently. How does a player like that, how do you find out? There are so many players in so many schools. I mean, is there a directory where you can find out who has eligibility left and who's out there on the street?
Darren, you know how today's world is. Everybody knows everybody's business.
Right.
The transfer market is almost as heated and big as the high school market, kids coming out of high school. And this fifth-year senior transferring has become a bit of a phenomenon over the last 5-7 years. But we knew about it the moment he, said that he was going to look to go someplace else. And the irony of it is, and I said this, and Mark Ziegler had it in the paper, before we played University of San Diego last year, and the first film that I watched was when Tulane played at the University of San Diego. And I watched, and I said to our staff, I said, boy, look at this guy. And then all of a sudden, this guy's on the market, and so I knew that he was a very good player. And we worked hard. I believe we were the only school that did our due diligence and made a home visit to see his mom in Raleigh, North Carolina, in addition to going to New Orleans and seeing him. Dutch and I had a whirlwind Saturday, Sunday. We left on Saturday afternoon for Raleigh, got up or had a Saturday morning flight for Raleigh, Saturday afternoon or evening visit with the parents, had a 6 a.m. flight to New Orleans, had a visit with Josh Davis, and jumped on a plane and got home Sunday night.
Yeah, well, the life of a college basketball coach right there in a nutshell. I've read some people have compared him a little bit, and I don't know if it's game. I think people went as far as to say even looks to Kawhi. I don't know if you like that or if you agree with that, but is that a fair comparison as far as it goes for somebody who maybe the fans might know?
Some of the fans will mistake him with if he walks campus or walks around, they'll say that's Kawhi or hi Kawhi. I had several people on campus say, you know who you look like, don't you? You look like a great player we had, Kawhi Leonard. And he smiled, and he's got braids. He's about 6'8", long-armed. I don't want to put undue expectations on him, but he's a very good player. He's a double-double player waiting to happen. So you'll like him. All Aztec fans will like the way he plays. High motor, athletic, plays hard, knows for the ball. So he's a good player.
Why do you think you guys have been so successful in this department? You know, I mean, again, rattling off all the list of names there, I know you're really aggressive on it, but you know, I can't think of too many schools here, and it's probably just because I don't pay a ton of attention. But you guys seem to do so well with players who are looking for a change of scenery. What is it about San Diego State that you guys are able to do this with Davis, with Angelo Chol, with all the other players that I just mentioned?
Darren, I think part of it is when you get a player and you have success with a transfer, that word spreads also. And the individual players talk about it. Our players that have come from somewhere else have had a wonderful experience, and they're not afraid to share that with others, nor are their parents, their AAU coaches. And so I think you get one, and it's a good one, and that gives you a great opportunity to get the next one. So I think all of that has helped us.
And the flip side of that is it seems like players don't leave here very much. You know, once they come in here, I mean, they all just rave about it. I'm sure you've had a player or two in your time as the head coach, but, you know, players don't seem to leave here and say, you know, I tried it, just not my thing.
Who would want to leave San Diego, Darren? I mean, this is a beautiful place to call home, whether you're someone like yourself or me, or whether you're a college student. You couple that with the fact that we have grown this program to be one where you have expectations of great success. Everybody looks for that. Now we put a player or so into the NBA, and everybody, that's what they all aspire to. But I think that to hit the point right square in the bullseye, and I don't mean to be boasting, but I'm boasting about our program and the people that we have surrounding it. And that's not just the coaches. It's everybody, from the president of the university to the athletic director to everyone. Our young guys are treated the way they're told they'll be treated. So often you talk a good game, but you don't deliver on what you say you're going to do. Our players feel good about how they're dealt with here, and they know that there's a commitment and a trust that they can provide for us, and we don't take it lightly. And the kids know that. I think it's a great opportunity now for all of us, and we're proud of it.
And also, I know that the other day when you were on the radio station, I think you were asked about this, and according to the rules, you were not yet allowed to comment, but I believe that today you are allowed to comment about another transfer who's coming from Arizona and who is a local guy who is returning back home. Different situation than Davis in that he has to sit out, but I guess now I can ask you, and you can comment a little bit about Angelo Chol.
I can, and I told you before we went on the air that I couldn't talk on him on Monday. But Angelo has signed his scholarship papers, and he's a local product, played for Ollie Golston at Hoover High School, had a great high school career, set all sorts of crazy shot blocking and point scoring records. And we recruited him hard out of high school, and he opted to go away, went to Arizona. And when he opted to come back, again, twofold. One, he knew what San Diego was about, and he also knew our program, and he knew us a little bit. We were the only school that they contacted to visit, and they had all sorts of people pounding on the door wanting Angelo to make visits, and he came here. a little bit like Josh, a little bit like what you talked about on how you recruit on the bounce backs. It was not a hard sell. We were honest. He saw opportunity. He was able to view what other bigs, guys like him, had been able to accomplish in this program. And we are very excited to bring Angelo back home.
You know, Coach, I know we're up against it here in terms of time, but, you know, it's funny because you've mentioned being honest with players a few times. And, you know, when we saw you in Atlanta, was it Atlanta for the Final Four? Yeah, it was Atlanta for the Final Four. I knew you were lukewarm on the whole Michigan stuff, and you're like, all right, already, you know, enough with this. But we had an opportunity later that day to interview Jimmy King, and I don't know if this got back to you or not. First and foremost, Jimmy King and Jalen Rose were absolute superstars down there in Atlanta rooting for Michigan. But when Marty and I walked up to them and said, hey, you know, we know Coach Fisher, we know Coach Dutcher, they stopped what they were doing, and their eyes lit up, and they got these huge smiles on their faces. And I'm sure that's not news to you. But when we asked Jimmy King how it was that he ended up going to Michigan with this tremendous clash with the Fab Five, he said, Coach Fisher walked into my living room and didn't tell me what I wanted to hear. He told me that nothing was being given to me. He was like one of the only honest guys to walk into my living room. So to hear you talk about being honest with recruits, it makes me think about what Jimmy King said, where he said that you said, listen, you're a great player, but you're going to have to compete. We're not giving you anything. And I just thought I'd share that with you. I'm sure you already knew that story, though.
I appreciate you saying that, Darren. What you want to have is you want to have long-term relationships with the young guys that you recruit and be part of their lives as they move forward. I've gone to weddings. Every time I pass, when we were playing at TCU, Darren, every time we would get into town, I would call Jimmy King's mom and dad in Plano, Texas, and they would come to a game. We'd have a nice visit on the phone. And I'm proud to say that I maintain not just with the name players, not just with, quote, the Fab Five. When we went to Atlanta, we had dinner with one of our former student managers. When we played in the tournament in Philadelphia, the same thing happened. He's now an executive with the Philadelphia Phillies. He came to dinner with us and then came to our game. And it makes you feel good that they want to continue to come around. And so we feel very good about that.
Well, congratulations, Coach. It's been a great week for us and certainly for the basketball program as well. It's been great reading about these two transfers coming in. One is going to be available to play this upcoming season and the other one the season after that. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, Darren. Thank you, sir.